What it is, Brad Lea back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I got a real treat for you. Josh Lyons in the house. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me.
Folks, if you haven't seen this guy, go on Instagram, look up at joshlyons.sales, and he seems to be the new James Bond of closing. British accent, the whole 9 yards. But you live here now.
Well, I travel full time. Being able to make money selling has allowed me to see the world, travel the world.
So now you do
3 years traveling. Yeah.
Where you been?
Colombia, Brazil, Argentina,
are you married?
Mexico. No, not married.
Single?
Single.
Why'd you leave Colombia?
Well, I've actually gone back, probably for some of the reasons that you might be thinking. No, I'm just.
Well, from what I hear, because I haven't been there, Colombia for a single dude, especially a single dude with a little bit of scratch.
Dangerous.
Especially a single dude with a little bit of scratch with a British accent. Colombia's where you want to be.
Dangerous. But if you want to be making money, if you want to be building business, you don't want to be getting into those distractions.
Hey, folks, distractions. See, I tested you. I was testing you, brother. That's right. Distractions. People need to focus. People don't focus much. I'm interested in getting into your techniques. As you know, we're live on a couple of platforms. So I'm going to be looking to see if there's any questions that come up for you. You don't mind answering questions for some live viewers, do you?
100%. Let's do it.
But I want to keep it sales related, folks. Sales or closing related, so we can stay on point. My question for you is, what's your new sales technique? What's new with sales and closing?
Two things. Number one is ditching the script.
Ditch the script.
100%. And number two is doing the inner work as well as the tactics and the external work. Actually working on yourself as much, if not more, than just your word tracks, your pre-planned questions, things like that. You got to combine both if you want to reach the top.
What do you mean by inner work?
Well, we've got this studio here. Your environment makes a massive difference if you're in the right state. Your ability to manage your emotions, your ability to constantly have a drive, so a goal, something that you're striving towards, your beliefs, all of it matters.
You ain't lying.
You can take a good lead, turn it into a bad lead because you didn't show up to the call the right way. If you show up to the call and you're like, you know what, I made 20K last month, that'll do. You'll just burn through a good lead because you have got what you thought you wanted the previous month, your Lambo paycheck or whatever, but there's a person on the phone that needs your help. And your ability to go through the challenging questions, to stay in the pocket with them, to hold them to what they say they want to be held accountable to, you're probably not going to be able to do that if you're not striving to better yourself, to make more money, to live a better life. So all of these things matter when you turn up to a sales call, and they happen before you turn up to the sales call.
Couldn't agree more. Mindset, let's just call it.
Yeah, mindset and environment.
Perspective.
100%.
It's possible for two different people to be in the same exact situation and have a different perspective, a different viewpoint.
Oh, well, let me tell you a quick story about that. So one of my kind of claims to fame was when I was closing full time, I was on an offer that had 3 sales teams. They had me on my own as an external gun for hire, just closing their leads. They had an internal sales team, and then they had a sales agency that was providing them a whole sales team. On my own, I was outperforming both the internal team and the external team, which was teams of 6 to 8 people, single-handedly on the same leads. So if they're the same leads, how was I printing, at the time it was $1.12 million a month in cash collected, which was less than an entire sales team?
Well, would you call it talent?
If you include talent as the ability to look at yourself and look at your life and say, where are my leaks? Then yeah, I had a talent to look at myself and say, I'm not good enough in my beliefs. I'm not good enough in my emotion control. I'm not good enough in all of this stuff.
Your heavy duty mindset sounds like.
Yeah, I'd say a big part of it.
Which, by the way, I mean, we won't disagree, me and you, because I believe it 1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, dude, I say if you want to raise your net worth, raise your self-worth.
100.
And that's really what you're talking about. So when he says inner work, it's about, you know, getting your confidence up, getting rid of victim mentality, getting rid of freaking instant gratification, understanding things take time, seeking discomfort, ongoing personal development.
Yeah, when you say get your confidence up, though, it's not about reading affirmations that say, I am confident every morning. It's about actually having a cold, hard look in the mirror and saying, where am I slipping up in life? We talked very quickly at the start about relationships. If you're in a toxic relationship, whether it's with your parents, your peer group, or a romantic partner, you need to have the courage to remove yourself from that situation. So that when you actually turn up to a sales call, you don't have your own personal shit going on.
You teach them techniques to do that?
Well, the technique is, how much longer do you want to not be earning the money you want to be making because you're in a relationship that's causing you to lose your opportunities?
Well, it's easy to say, but then you get somebody that, gets fired up for a moment, and then, first sign of rejection, they're back at, whining like a little pup.
Can be. One of those things is, do they have something else they're aspiring towards, which is a goal, but then they also need to break down that goal into a plan. We've got one guy in our mastermind right now, came into the mastermind, absolutely dominated, went from making 10K to 30K a month in 90 days. Then he bought an apartment. And the moment he bought the apartment, his results went down because he'd bought the thing he wanted. And so one of the things that we redid with him recently was, okay, what do you want next? And what was really interesting is, in the conversation, he was rationalizing, I think the right thing to do would be get an investment property or do this. I was like, Christian, are you excited by that? He was like, no, not really. I was like, dude, be honest. What makes you excited? And he cowered a little bit. He was like, I really want a Porsche. It's like, Porsche, let's go. Let's break it down month by month by month. How much do you need to make? And so where a lot of salespeople go wrong is they haven't actually done that chunking down process of truly something that they want, breaking it down into what they need to make financially to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then backing that up, which you talk about all the time, with actually fucking taking action.
Yeah, but on the same token, you just convinced the guy to use passion and fuel to make money and go waste it on a Porsche, when in reality he would have been better off buying that real estate.
Define better off.
Well, that's a good hold on, give you a bomb for that, because I always do the same shit, dude, because that's what matters, the definition, and that's what shapes perspective. That's why how you understand and comprehend matters. And in sales, it matters with the customer. What do you understand about the customer? Tell me this, if you agree or disagree. If a transaction is needed to be made every time for a sale to be successful, well, then you want to make a transaction. So all you have to do, in my opinion, is raise the value of your product or service above the value of what they value their money. Like, in other words, I'll give you my 10 grand if I value whatever that is more. Like if I said, I'll sell you this watch, we got a rose gold Daytona. Okay. Fucking Oyster Flex band. She's a pretty one. I'll give you this for $3,000. You'd be like, done. See, that's because that's worth way more. So when you're selling a product or service, you just understand the same thing. In order for a transaction to be made, I need to freaking raise the value of my product or service beyond the value of his money. Now, when you have a smoking deal, you can do that a lot easier, but that doesn't make you a salesperson, right? Because I think a badass is when somebody says no, or I need to think about it. What do you teach about that?
Well, I truly believe that people only say no, or I need to think about it, if you haven't gone deep enough in the discovery. And so like you're saying about the watch situation, well, I'll give you two scenarios where you would need to go much deeper. Number one is someone says $3,000 for that watch.
What's
this
the
must
catch?
be a scam.
Yeah.
So now you have to get into their mindset of, it would be longer than we would get into on this podcast, but where are you at in life? Are you where you want to be? No. Do you think your mindset of questioning everything and being skeptical about everything has anything to do with you not being where you want to be?
You say this with a customer?
If their mindset is one of the biggest things that's
what if they say something smart-assy, like, what are you, my fucking coach? Like, who cares?
But
I think that's fake.
Yeah, well, my job is to coach someone on a sales call. If their mindset is the thing that's getting them in trouble, then yeah, your job is to dig into their mindset. I think that's what separates from, average closers to really good closers, is you're not actually selling the product. You're selling the way they need to show up to be successful.
A consultative approach.
Yeah, in many regards, yeah. But the prospect has the answers. You're not consulting them.
Everybody better pay attention to that statement too.
Yeah, the prospect is the only one that has the answers. And the more you try and consult them and indoctrinate them and put beliefs into them, the more they'll resist it. It's basic, every force has an equal and opposite reactive force.
Do you have a steps path to a sale?
Yeah. In general, the first thing you always want to do is dig into what is the problem. So I'd always have an opening question that starts there. One of the things that I think is completely wrong in the sales industry is trying to deflect why we're actually on the sales call. Oh, what was it about the advert that attracted your attention? Fuck the advert. What is your problem? Why are we talking today? What is your actual problem? So I would always start with a big, juicy opening question. So if we're talking about real estate lead generation. So what is the biggest challenge you're having with your lead generation in your real estate business right now? And you start there. Once you get into that, you want to quantify everything. You want to specify everything for the exact reason that you just said. If I can't quantify the cost of you staying where you're at as more costly than you making the investment, then they're not going to buy. But when we get into cost, it's like, is it the cost of the lack of leads, or is it the cost of the lack of leads, meaning the guy is having to work more hours, meaning he's not spending time with his kids? Well, what are your kids' names? How old are they? How does it feel as a father to have your 4-year-old and your 6-year-old come home every day after school and you're not there? And then they go and play with Jim's
How
dad.
do you think up all this if you're just an average sales Joe?
Because the prospect has the answers. So long as you,
I know, but like if you were to teach me this, because it makes sense to me, but I'm not your average sales Joe. So like I agree with everything you're saying and could probably freaking sit here and chat for another 6 hours about every little one. But
yeah.
What about the average sales Joe? Like how do you teach them to do this?
So it's a big part of it goes back to the inner stuff. Most salespeople are trying to make a sale. And because they're trying to make a sale...
For by the way, hate to interrupt, but if I don't, I'll forget. A selfish reason. What do you think about like energy?
Yeah, people feel that.
100%. Hell yeah, they feel it. And I always tell people, like, get your energy right before you sit there and talk to a customer. But if your energy's messed up, dude, it attracts the same vibrations. So if I'm pissed off and I get on the phone with a customer, that energy, I'm going to attract pissed off. So I'm going to say something or do something that's going to cause that customer to get pissed off, which then, by the way, reinforces the vibrational frequency that I'm in. Why? Because now I'm pissed even more. It's going to attract more. Look, someone paid $5. I can't believe I've answered this last time. Yes, I'm going to Dan Pena's castle soon. DM me and I'll go with you. But sales related questions, Jessica White says, any recommendations when you're a single mom and a business owner working from home with toddlers? Any pointers on keeping it all separate when you don't physically work and home, when physically work and home are the same place? Like, how do you separate like the noise and the nonsense?
Babysitter?
Jessica, what he just said would have been under the label of common sense, and he said babysitter, maybe. Have your mom come over.
In all seriousness, one of the things I teach is that you have to take what's up here and write it down. Before bed, before a call, whatever the things are that are blocking your ability to think in real time on the sales call, you have to get those out of your head and onto a piece of paper. A lot of sales training is trying to teach that there's some advanced technology to be better at selling. So much of it is common sense.
Yeah.
Okay, you got shit on your mind,
but that's the hard.
Have you journaled?
But see,
No.
but Josh, that's the hard part I'm finding. Because I'm sure I fancy myself a sales trainer, even though I'm not out actively doing it. I used it to get to where I am. You know, I have multiple businesses. I'm heavily involved in sales up here every single day. And I show people, you know, how do you get out of the rat race? Well, first of all, you got to sell something. And then secondly, you know, you got to know how to do that. What about building relationships? It's all about relationships. What about building a personal brand, which makes all that easier? What about communication? What about marketing? You know, coming up in sales nowadays, you better understand marketing. And I already know you do. But like these people that are either getting in, maybe that's why you've decided just to help the higher level guys. Because like, do you have the patience to slow down and explain the basics? Like, to me, that question's a good question because she wanted to know. But that shows me that, you know, she's not the person looking for your group. Your group is a group of masterminds, like individuals, all in a group, all about sales. What is it? How often is it?
How often is the
your program?
Live training once a week, okay, but they're inside the mastermind in an online portal. And so they can interact every single day, ask questions, go through training.
But those are for high level people.
Correct.
And by the way, folks, if you guys like what that you're hearing from this guy, unicorncloser.com, unicorn closer. So he does help people, but he doesn't deal with, you know, people just getting started, just learning, maybe aren't that good yet. You're looking for like high level, looking to go freaking nuclear.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between someone that's looking at it as, I'm going to get into sales, I'm going to make a little bit of money and that'll do, versus someone that says, you know what, I want to take this as far as it goes. I want mastery of the art and science of sales, and I want mastery of myself. That is a choice that I'm not going to make for people.
Well, you should sell those separately. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, mastery of oneself is worth all the money. If somebody could get a hold of themselves, just mentally, physically, emotionally, how valuable is that?
Priceless.
That's the value. So that's why I like it, because you're focusing on you're calling it the inner work, but really it's building confidence. It's stop being a dumbass, wake up, use your fucking head, basically. And that's what it boils down to. People got to realize, man, like to me and you, dude, life isn't hard. My life's not hard. How about yours?
I love life.
And you created it, didn't you?
Let's go back to the story of where that started, though. And this is pretty juicy, because what you were talking about is, well, what about just removing the sales aspect and just teaching people the personal development principles? The reason I personally don't believe that works is you need something to apply it to.
A vehicle.
Yeah, you need something to take action. So where I started was, I was making £1,500 a month, working 4 jobs, shit jobs, delivery driver, bricklayer, office job, and what was the other one? And security guard in a nightclub.
Now, some people say no sales involved.
No sales experience. Nothing connected. And I was going nowhere in life. I was depressed, I was unhappy, and I was broke, clearly. And I tried to get out of that thinking I can just read my way out of it. I'll just read books. I'll do personal development books. But trying to read your way out of it and intellectualizing everything without having to apply it to a skill, the rubber doesn't meet the road. Where everything changed was, whilst I was working these 4 jobs, I managed to just about find the time to go on a date with a girl. And I went on the date with this girl, had a great time. We spent a few days together. She'd flown over to London from Dubai. And after the end of those 3 days, she asked me a question. And that question was, how much money do you make? And I was like, any particular reason you're asking the question? And a little bit of back and forth to get it out of her. She said, listen, you know, I've had a great time with you, but I come from a very rich family, and I need to know if our lives are going to be potentially compatible. So I told her how much I made, and she kind of looked at me like, well, that's no fucking money. But the next question was what really hit me. She said, okay, time out. What is your plan to make more money? And that was just like, I don't have a plan. I'm reading my books. I'm reading, you know, psycho-cybernetics and all the, you know, rich dad, poor dad, but nothing's actually changing.
At least you got the good books.
Got the good books.
Psycho-cybernetics is a great book.
But it's not going to put money in your pocket.
Well, it will if you apply.
Exactly. You have to have something to apply it. And so I went back home, spent 3 days bitching to my best friend about what a gold digger she was and rationalizing, justifying, excusing, blaming everything but myself.
Victim mentality.
And then I thought about it. You know, one of the rationalizations I said is, oh, she just wants a rich dude. Well, they're probably assholes. They're probably not funny. They're probably bad people. And I thought about it. And I thought, you know what? She's attractive. She's intelligent. She's a good person. Why should she fucking choose me over them? There probably are rich guys that are also nice and funny and cool.
There are.
Yeah, possibly. And so after those 3 days of thinking about it, something clicked in my brain. And I was like, and I said it out loud. I was going for a walk and I said, I am going to get rich. I am going to get rich. The moment that happened, I got a message, an email actually, from one of the courses that I'd bought trying to break free of this cycle of working jobs. And it said, hey, you know, we're recruiting people to come and work for our company. I thought that's my way out, to take all of this knowledge and start applying it into something. So I went and worked for this company, and cut a long story short, I worked my way through the ranks and got offered the opportunity to learn sales. And it was only when I actually got into that sales career that all of the theory of personal development started to be able to take shape into a structure. So I agree with you that the inner work is priceless, but so many people, I mean, they're bestsellers nowadays, you know, Atomic Habits, bestseller. How many of those people are actually applying those habits? One of the beauties of sales is you have a commission sales is you have a feedback loop. You do the right habits, you get paid. You don't do the right habits, you don't get paid.
Is it possible to do the right habits and still not get paid?
You could break one habit or you could do one habit, but it has to be the whole thing, right? You know, you could make your bed in the morning, but then turn up to your sales call thinking this is going to be a broke lead.
Yeah, but
then
you can also
project that into the lead.
Yeah, but not making the bed's not a good one because you don't have to make your bed. I don't ever make my bed.
Okay, or let me think of an example. So not being reactive on a sales call.
How about like, well, that's controlling your emotions, which is a great skill. I would say that's a skill, but if you got in the habit of doing it, it would be great. I think a pertinent habit in a sales capacity would be, for example, the habit of fitness, the habit of working out. Yep. Like if someone's coming into sales and they're not working out every day, and I'm talking about just getting their heart rate. I'm not talking about bodybuilding and taking steroids and trying to look like you're freaking a bodybuilder. I'm talking about exercise.
Yep.
That physiologically will affect and enhance your ability to sell just by itself. So like that's a habit I would suggest everyone gets into.
What's your reason why you think it increases your ability to sell?
Number one, you feel better. You feel better, you perform better.
Yep.
Point blank. Number one, you look better, and now you feel better. And then you feel better, you perform better. Number two, physiologically and scientifically, your endorphins and your chemicals and your neural pathways and your like hydration of your brain, dude, matters. Like sometimes I think right now I'm dehydrated. Why? Because I'm a lot sharper most times. See, I just thought about sharper for a minute. I already knew that word. It's because I need to go pound some water. I need to get in the habit of being hydrated.
Yeah.
I need to stay focused because focus matters, dude.
Yep.
What you focus on will determine your energy or your frequency.
Yep.
See, have you ever heard what you frequently see becomes your frequency?
Yeah.
Well, that's true shit.
Where focus goes, energy flows. They're all as within, so without.
Yeah, so like
universal principles.
The focus is important, which some people would confuse the word focus because I got other things to do. Dude, you can stay focused on what you're doing. That's why, you brought up, well, what's your purpose really? What's your why? A Porsche fires you up. That's the fuel you need.
Yep.
To do the things you need to do. Well, you don't need that is what I'm saying. You don't need it. It does help. But once you get to a certain level of understanding or awareness or awakening, whatever you want to call it, you start to realize it boils down to a choice. It's a decision. Like I can decide, I'm going to go to work and bust my ass and perform because I want to ultimately be wealthy. Well, how do you do that? Well, you become wealthy by investing, not by earning. So if I earned more money to get a Porsche and I went and got it, well, now I'm back in the same boat. Now you've taught me the habit of setting new goals. See? So the habit of new goals keeps that fire going.
Right.
Well, hopefully it goes long enough to where you make an excess, because until you make an excess, you can invest. And if someone said, Brad, I'm going to get rich thinking like that, I would say only because it works to get you motivated, but eventually you're going to just be broke at another level if you don't learn to invest. And that's not buying the Porsche. That's saying, you know what? I really want that fucking Porsche. So let me redirect my plan so my investment buys it for me. Meaning I'll take the 150 grand or 250 nowadays for that Porsche that your technique taught me to be inspired to go get. And that's the power.
That's the point. It's the centralizing, it's the focusing that the goal does of who you have to become. Like if someone is not inspired by getting a real estate investment property, they aren't going to become the person they need to become, the skill and the inner work on the journey. So it's like, you can think of it as two stages. It's like stage one is I need to change who I am. Well, in order to change who I am, the goal needs to be juicy enough that I'm going to do the fucking work, because a big part of the inner work is killing off the old version of you. You aren't going to do that if the juicy carrot at the end is not, enticing
Juicy
enough.
Yeah.
On the second side of that is you've now become someone that's highly skilled and that has actually done the internal work. You could then pivot and say, okay, now I'm going to get into investing. But I don't think, some bumbling idiot is going to do very well in investing if they haven't actually done any type of transformation prior.
I would imagine, unless they got lucky with that in a strategy. So you guys' program really focuses on building the person.
100%.
And that's probably why you have a success rate like you do.
Yeah.
Because once you get that person to understand that, the skills are somewhat easy to understand. And
they're intuitive.
And especially if you apply the teachings of the mindset. Like mine, for example, when I teach people to sell, this was a live cast on selling hosted by Josh and myself. I would start out by saying, if you want to learn to be one of the best salespeople, stop selling. They go, what? I'd say, when you literally approach it like, I'm not here to sell you anything, I'm just here to help you, and you're sincere about that. I want to help you. Selling you is a byproduct. My energy is in help. My energy is the vibrational frequency. Sounds cheesy, but it's true. Is in a different frequency.
I'm laughing because I've done a reaction video of you saying that on my Instagram.
Well, let's. By the way, find it. So let's pull it up. I'll tell you. Did you agree or disagree?
I agreed 100%.
Well, that is true then.
100%.
See, there's two people that agree to the same thing.
Too long to find it.
Guys, if you guys can find anybody doing a reaction of mine and they're talking shit, send it. There's only one that I saw that I wouldn't debate, and that's the one that I was talking about taxes. And the editing made it sound like I was saying, hey, you can do this for your taxes. It left out the part where I said, but I don't know. That's the way it should be.
Yep.
But generally, dude, frequency, if I'm approaching to help you, like a lot of people think I sell people, everything I sell. I don't sell anything. I help people solve problems, and my energy's in help. And if I don't think I can help you, dude, I wouldn't take your money. And people can sense this, and that builds what?
Conviction,
trust,
certainty,
trust, bro. That's what you are driving at when you meet somebody in a sales environment. Like the first thing I should do is trying to sell you something is stop selling you anything.
So we train that as curiosity. What's going on? Like you're just curious.
And then
what's going on?
And then
tell
I
me more
noticed
about that. Okay, well, how's that happening? Why is that happening? When did that happen?
How do you
Who did that
feel?
happen with? Everything.
Yeah, because I noticed you brought in the old emotion part. Like, how would that feel? How does that make you feel? And what would it feel like if that were to go away? If that problem were to be solved, how would that feel? What would that do for you? What would that do for your kids? You know what I mean? And then they start thinking like, oh, that would be the greatest. And you bring that emotion into the mix, dude, it's all but closed unless you screw it up somehow.
Yeah.
How do you think the average salesperson screws up most of their deals?
They're not present. They're not present with the prospect. They've got an agenda in their mind. It could be a script, it could be a commission, and that's all they're thinking about. And so they're not just having a heart-to-heart one-on-one with someone and just trying to figure out what's going on. Like you said, their agenda is to sell.
Because they're probably thinking like, what I'm not their counselor.
Yeah, which I think is incorrect. I mean, at the end of the day, if someone has a problem and they were able to think rationally and deeply enough about it, they would have already solved the fucking problem. Your job...
Or say that again.
If someone has a problem and they think rationally and deep enough about the problem, they'll have already solved it.
They wouldn't be talking to you.
No, your job is less to sell them the product and more to facilitate the thinking that they need to do about the problem they have.
Well, what about the times where you're reaching out? Because if I'm reaching out, you don't even know you have a problem.
Yeah, you might. I mean, that's getting more into marketing than sales. You know, marketing is like...
No, outbound sales is totally sales. Like it's a different dynamic, but if I'm reaching out, see, you're talking about if they're calling in. So why are we on the phone today? Let's move the mic aside and get deep. That works well. But when I'm calling you, hey Josh, it's Brad Lea with Lightspeed VT, you know, what's bothering you? You'd be like, who is this?
Yeah, exactly. No, the first thing, if we don't train outbound sales, it's not my specialty. I haven't done outbound sales either. But if you were going to do that, once you've got past the first 30, 60 seconds, you're still having that conversation about wanting to know the depths and the details of what's going on. You know, how's it going? Okay, why do you think it's that, not this? You're still having that deep conversation to go deeper into whatever you're talking about than they've probably thought about themselves. So your point before was you're not a counselor. It's like, well, you're not a counselor in the sense of like you're offering them, you know, therapy, but you are counseling them through the deeper thinking that they've done on their than they've done on their own problem.
Yeah, well, dude, you're positioning yourself as an expert and an authority,
but not an expert on the subject, because the person with the answers is the prospect.
Well, again, the person with the answers is the prospect, but I'm the expert in the field to guide you. Like if there's a hero's journey, I'm the guide, not the hero. The hero is the customer or the product. I'm the guide, but I can guide you. So again, if you're inbound, I would say differently, but outbound, I would say, well, dude, I can't get to that until I get past the initial. So the initial is I got to hurry up and pique your interest. And what most salespeople do is they try to sell you on the spot. Like in other words, outbound, your phone rings and I'm talking about Lightspeed and how much we can help you and how great it is and how much more money you can make. And I didn't ask any questions.
Doubt. Don't trust you. Don't believe you.
Yeah. So if I were to reach out, the first thing I want to do is just pique your interest. You know, out of curiosity, Josh, I noticed that you were selling courses online. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. Out of curiosity, if I could show you a way to make twice that much money with very little effort, would you be interested in a 10-minute call?
Yeah.
Excellent. See, now it's an inbound
conversation.
Now I pick up where now we're on the phone. So tell me, what, you're not making as much as you want?
Yeah.
How's that working out for you? Oh, really? What do you use for that? You know, and I'm really, you know, I'm not, and where do you use that? I'm not interrogating you.
Yeah.
I'm having a conversation.
That second half though, where I was curious your thoughts is, I don't believe you need to be a subject matter expert to sell someone.
You don't need to be, but
Okay.
it helps you to be in the position of an expert, because the whole goal is to build trust. So if you know that I am the expert in this field, you automatically trust me. I don't, and if I'm as good as what you're talking about, because what you're doing is high level, real shit. Like this is, you know, advanced. To me, it's basic to me, but it's also advanced.
Right.
Because you tell this to people, they're like, huh? But you're talking to people as a consultative expert, or you wouldn't talk like you do. Yeah. See? Even your videos on Instagram, like you're coming at it from an expertise. That's why people reach out to you, because you're like, man, this son of a bitch is certain. Well, why are you so certain? Because you know. Well, that makes you an expert.
Yeah.
Certainty is literally a differentiator. Like if you're certain about something and you really feel that way, something changes about your energy too, because you're up here in certainty. Well, some people are down here in confusion. Well, if I'm calling you with certainty and you're in confusion, my frequency is going to attract like frequency. So I'm either going to get you certain so we can connect, or you're going to get me confused.
Yep.
One of the two.
Yep.
And by the way, that happens more often because the salesman's not trained. They're not in your mastermind. That mastermind, dude, sounds like everything you need to actually train people, which is probably another reason it's successful. Because most people don't know this, maybe even including you, but real training, dude, requires 4 things. Number 1, the right way to do it in the first place. Number 2, repetition. Number 3, practice. Number 4, accountability. And most sales training people like you, or Grant Cardone, Andy Elliott, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, all of them, they got the good content, especially according to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ask Andy Elliott whose is the best, he's going to say his is, when in reality, his is probably some of yours and some of Grant's and some of Zig's and some of everybody else's, because we real people like Andy specifically, myself, you, we read. And when you read, you learn, and then you just adopt it and and internalize it, and then it comes out as yours. But anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that. Now I'm confusing myself. But to me, dude, everyone thinks they're their own expert, so they've got the content, but they don't deliver repetition. You know what I'm saying? But a mastermind will, because you're in there every week, reinforcing, holding people accountable, practicing, role playing, and that's what training is. So it's not just a mastermind that you have, and it's not necessarily successful because you're good content. Because I'll bet you, well, I don't know for sure, but I'll bet you I could call all your past people and someone would go, yeah, shit didn't work. When in reality, the content was great, but they didn't get enough repetition. Maybe they didn't get any accountability. Maybe they had no personal accountability. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason for it. It wasn't the content. Your shit's good. How do I know? Because it sounds a lot like what I subscribe to. Like, that's the way to do it. What kind of repetition? Well, dude, you can't give repetition in a one session. You need a weekly call. You need a weekly accountability call out. What do those weekly calls consist of?
5 hours of call reviews, role plays, training.
See, that's training.
Massive action.
You're training people, bro.
Yeah.
You're not just selling a course.
Well, that's one of the things you were saying about, repetition. A course, so long as you have a credit card, you can join the course. There is no barrier to entry as far as you're agreeing to show up in this way, or we're not letting you in. With a mastermind, sure, there might be a few people that, worm their way in. Well, they'll very quickly get pushed out by the collective mindset consciousness of the rest of the group. We have a formula, which is on the introduction video in the mastermind, which is, this is what it takes. Massive action plus time plus mentorship equals excellence. If you're not putting in massive action, no amount of time, no amount of mentorship, not going to turn into much.
Now, see, I may argue that a little bit. Why? Well, because, dude, if someone's putting in pretty good amount of time, but not massive, they could still do it. It just takes longer.
The formula is for excellence, though.
I could still become excellent doing it part-time.
I disagree.
Well, again, that's because you're competitive and you're one of those intense mofos.
No, it's because I think mastery comes from, like, if you're writing a book, there might be some people that sit down day one, pen, start writing, and they finish the whole thing, and that's the final product. Most of the time, to create a masterpiece, it's in the editing process, going over it again and again and again and again. Well, but massive action means that you're willing to keep going through those cycles. Medium action is like, oh, this is good enough. Good enough is not going to get you to excellent.
Well, then I'll retract, because I thought massive action meant, man, you gotta be obsessed and go like all your time. You can part-time master some shit. I knew someone who became a master piano player playing a couple hours a day. It wasn't massive action. It was to me, that's a little action. Like, dude, you only did it 2 hours a day. That ain't massive action. So I was misinterpreting what you meant by massive action. Being willing to consistently apply it, absolutely.
Yep.
If that's massive action, then I would agree with you in that case. See, that's why folks' definition matters and understanding matters. Now imagine you're talking to a customer that's never met you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you get frustrated talking to dipshits? Or let's just say the naive, the unaware, the sleepy sleeps?
Yeah. I think people that haven't connected the dots, that you're not where you want to be because you've made the wrong choices or you're not making the right choices. I'll tell you a story about that. So, for me personally, from high ticket sales, I was able to go from making $1,500 a month to over $100,000 a month in commission in 18 months. That's a big change. As I was going on that journey, I probably got to around $30,000. I was like, holy shit, this high ticket selling thing is incredible. I messaged my group of best friends. I had 4 or 5 of them, and I wrote on a whiteboard all of their names. And I said, I'm going to get them all into sales because this is, get rich quick scheme, whatever. This is incredible. And I messaged them all. And first round was like, nah, not interested. Don't want to do that. I was like, dude, I'm making $30,000 a month and you're making 2 and you don't want to sit down and have a chat? Nah, too busy. Okay, fine. Few cycles later, got some of them to sit down, and it was just, dude, it seems like a lot of work having to study these sales calls. I'm like, yeah, but $30,000, like you don't want to in on this?
It wasn't their purpose, apparently.
I just don't think people think. I think so much of why people aren't where they want to be is they haven't actually rationally thought through things. Piece of paper and a pen, one of the best success tools you'll ever find. Okay, where am I? $1,500 a month. What am I spending my time on? What's my ROI on that? Okay, what's my skills? Okay, well, I'm very low level skills here. Who do I hang around with? A bunch of losers with bad beliefs. They don't just lay it all out. It's why if you're in the military, the first thing you do is a giant piece of paper. Where are the troops? Where are our infantry? What have we got? People just don't think.
The goals, like, do you believe in like daily goals, weekly goals, hourly goals?
I think your vision, I think anything more than 6 to 8 months is a little bit too far away for like this is the next thing that I'm aiming for. But then absolutely you have to break it down to, what do I have to accomplish today? Now, again, critical thinking is, so one of the things I teach salespeople is, if your goal is a Porsche and you need to hit this amount of money, cumulatively over 8 months, that might be this amount per month. Let's say it breaks down to $1,000 a day in commission. Okay, 1 sale, 2 sales, whatever that is. People have to have that clarity. You have to then have the ability to say, okay, I didn't hit $1,000 today. Well, that means tomorrow I need to hit $2,000. Like, you have to be a little bit more fluid in your thinking.
Intentional,
thinking things through. Yeah, 100%.
Because I'm trying to assume what your course and mastermind sounds like. Because again, hearing it, I agree with it. So you're not getting any pushback. But I would imagine someone coming into this program, well, not the high level one, because again, you got to be pretty serious or you wouldn't even go in there. But I'm trying to help all salespeople, and I'm trying to help people that aren't salespeople. Yep. Because what people don't realize, at least I believe, tell me if you agree or disagree. If you can just focus on mindset, which is all of what you're talking about, that's just how I define it. Mindset, and then your skill set, that's word tracks and understanding the path. And, because a real master, dude, there is no path. I can go from 2 to 9 back to 2 and realize I missed 1 and I need to go back and redo 1 so I can do 5, 6, and 7 right. Because they all are connected. But a real master, dude, people have seen me jump in on a sales call and they're like, damn, dude, how'd you do that? Well, I went in and real quickly started having a conversation. I got information from them, answers. And then I use those answers to build the value of my product or service. I identified the real objection, because if you don't identify the real one, you're trying to close this one, and it's not even closable. It's like a lie.
Yeah, it's trying to grab air. So
you're making up logical ways to solve a problem that's not real. Like if I said I'm going to get my wife and I'm not even married, and you're sitting there trying to convince me, let's go get her. You think that's going to work?
Well, a big thing that we spoke about before is if they don't trust you, that might be the word track that they give you. I need permission from my wife. It's nothing to do with the wife. They just don't trust you. So it's what we would call a smokescreen.
They're trying to evade.
Well, they just don't feel like they've had a deep enough, honest enough conversation with you that they feel they need to reciprocate by being honest with you.
Yeah. So folks, the way I met Josh is one of my newer sales guys apparently decided to go out on his own, which I admire the initiative.
Yep.
But guys, when there's a method that works and a plan and a strategy, in my mind, it's best to follow it. Like, dude, you never should have got a DM. So anyway, one of my guys DMs him and is atrocious. And then he's like, yeah, I'll let you tell the story, but then he's like, there's no way you're connected to Brad Lea. You said something to that effect, and you were correct.
I said, I would be shocked if Brad is representing this attempt at having a sales conversation with me. I don't believe this.
Or vice versa. Like, I wasn't representing, but he was representing me.
Right.
And you said something to that effect too. It's like, I can't believe Brad would. In other words, if Brad heard this, he'd freaking puke, which you're correct. But
yeah,
dude, that was
sent me 7 puke emojis.
These are. I want to talk about them because number one, it really happened, folks. So you guys think your sales team's trained, you think you said it, and they must have heard it and they must have understood it and they were able to internalize it and now they're doing it. Well, there's no accountability. I'm not watching what they're saying. And that one was a new program. And I told him, hey, do this. And he was good at another program. I hope. I don't want to go back and listen. Like, was he belittling those people into a deal? Was he smashing and trying to hard close? Because, dude, listen, if Brad Lee's guys ever reach out or you ever hear anybody representing me, there's no high pressure or old school slimy sales tactics deployed. And if there are, DM me like he did. And what did I do? What did I say?
I'm so sorry. This is not what I represent. How can I make it right?
That's right. And that's, by the way, every company should do that. That's called customer service, which is also sales. But so what did he say to you? Like, how did it start? Describe what this nightmare was. And he just so happened to reach out to a dude that specializes in this. So that didn't help either.
Well, the opening was assuming that I wanted to buy what he's trying to sell me. Not, hey, by the way, are you looking at getting on any more podcasts?
Or building your brand or extending your reach
at the moment, so I can't. He didn't ask. It was just, hey, going on Brad's podcast would be incredible for your brand. I was like, well, I might not be looking to go on podcasts right now. So kind of like you were saying with Outbound, is like, is this even someone that's in the market for what we could potentially sell? You wouldn't sell a pen, try to sell a pen to someone that doesn't have hands. Like hey, you got both hands? Oh, by the way, I sell pens.
And by the way, what if he'd have just been smart and followed what my training talks about, which is when you reach out, you're not there to sell them. He was trying to sell you.
Yeah.
When you reach out, folks, pay attention. When you're outreach, you're not trying to sell. You're trying to pique their interest. So they give you time so you can sell. You make it their idea. You get their endorsement, their permission, really, by piquing their interest. So just pique their interest. You don't try to sell. That's what everybody makes a mistake. So he tried to sell. What else?
Well, then he gave me a guarantee of the results of something that I hadn't even said I was potentially interested in, which is the millions of, I don't remember if he said followers or dollars that I was going to.
Dollars. I think he said dollars. He said you'll make millions like so-and-so did.
Yeah. Which removes, and this is a big thing in high ticket sales, is you may have a great product, but you also have to, through the sales conversation, make sure that the prospect is showing up in the right way, that they're going to be able to execute on that product to get the results. So what the guy we're talking about was saying was, whatever you say on the podcast, whether you turn up, in a onesie or whatever, you're going to make millions. It's like, no.
Millions.
It might be an opportunity, but I still have to be wanting to make the most of that opportunity.
And tell the people, dude, he said millions. He used the word millions. That's what I call, number one, overselling.
Yeah.
Why? Well, Is it possible? Sure it is, dude. You can make millions. The bomb squad's listening to you right now. We could get off this. You get 1,000 people to join your mastermind and be like, dude, I made millions. Just like he said I would. But the fact is he shouldn't have said you would. Yeah. That's overselling. Yeah. Number 2, think about compliance. I mean, dude, you could have been a dick and said, oh, nice little claim here. Let me see what the FTC thinks about 100%. This claim. And now I got an FTC claim against me because some dickhead. And by the way, if you guys have salespeople out there, pay attention. You think your sales team's all peachy keen. You come to find out, dude, they're out there what I call that? Ripping and tearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, ripping and tearing. Like, dude, we had to let him go, unfortunately, because I assumed he was
liability for you if the FTC did sniff something like that.
Well, I assume he was a good closer because of the productivity, and he even mentioned that to you when you said, "Dude, I'll just have a chat with Brad and see how long you last," or you said something because you guys were getting into it, and his response to you was, "I did 190 grand in gross last month. I highly doubt it," or something. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, see, that's not sales, man. That's called being a dick.
Yep.
You're being adversarial. You're not building a connection. You're making him dislike my brand. You're making him distrust me just by your representation of me. It was terrible.
If we zoom out, I think this is a universal challenge with salespeople, is they assume that they need to find a sale. Everybody on the planet is in the market to buy something, more than one thing.
All day, every day.
All day, every day. And so many salespeople are like, oh, let me speak to a lead or a prospect and see if I can find a sale. It's like, there probably is a sale there if you back off and you detach and you just say, hey, what have you got going on? All right, how's it going? When did you last go on a podcast? Any reason you haven't been on a few for a couple months?
How's business going?
Yeah. How's that going? Oh, actually, things are a bit slow.
Hey, I took a look at your Instagram, man. You're doing a great job. You're up to 70,000 followers already. Is that something important? Are you trying to build that following? Not, you only got 70,000 followers? Shit. Go on the podcast, dude. You'll have 7 million.
Yeah. People buy people a lot more than they buy the product.
Fact.
And vice versa. Like, you tell me.
And that's why they don't, too.
Vice versa. Have you ever really wanted to buy something, gone into the showroom, wherever, had a bad salesperson and gone, I really wanted to buy that thing, but now I'm not going to buy it?
I've done that, yes. But I've also said, this guy's a dick. Just bring it to the front. In other words, I still have bought whether I like the person or not. Because I hear some sales trainers say they have to like you to buy, and that's not true.
No,
why?
They have to respect you and trust you and believe that you're genuine.
Well, I don't know. I'd have to think, because I always put myself, and I'd have to run that through my filter. But I know that I've bought something from someone that I didn't like. And why? Because he had the product I wanted at the price I wanted it, and no one else did. So therefore, I bought it anyway. But if there was any product anywhere else, I wouldn't have. So the rule's good. But dude, I always say, like, it's better to be, like, for example, if you're in sales and you're badass at sales, but you're badass at sales with the right mindset and the right habits, you're
a unicorn.
Way better. A unicorn. Or if you're badass in sales, you got all that going for you, but you're also very savvy at marketing. Now you're a real unicorn.
Yeah.
We should do a co-branded thing, real unicorn.
That's pretty good.
And then
don't put the word bombs in there though.
But on top of that, now you got the marketing, the sales, which, by the way, I think already contains the mindset and the habits and the skills. But now on top of the marketing, now you got personal branding. Like, you understand how to build a brand, which ultimately is a reputation.
Yeah.
And most people don't get how important the reputation is. Your reputation is your brand.
Yep.
So again, dude, when I read that exchange between my guy and your guy, that was a brand issue. And to me, guys, if you don't understand a personal brand, you better get cracking. Google, hire a coach, go build yourself a personal brand. You're building one. Yeah. You're doing a good job with it too.
Do you think someone should build a personal brand before they've got to a very high level of skill?
You know, normally I would say it's easier to build a personal brand when you've reached a high level of skill, but I don't think it's as important because building a personal brand will make you money in a million different ways. So what I would say to that person is authenticity is important. So like, for example, don't claim you're some fucking big fancy ass closer expert if you're not one.
Yep.
Like I would say, if that's what you want to be, go be one first. Why? Well, because then you'll get the authenticity. Like, dude, you're certain of what you're saying. Me and you could sit here and debate it. If I didn't agree, me and you would debate. You wouldn't be like, oh, I guess you're right. Just like in the green room when I'm telling you, oh, you don't want to make any more money? And you're like, I didn't say that, you know, because you know where I was going with that. Because, dude, I could close you guys on a freaking package here fairly easily because I'm not going to try to sell you the package. I'm going to sell you the result. Well, the result of what? Well, I don't know if you want the result. So I got to talk to you. How's it going? Or do you have this interest, that interest? And what's the problem there? And what's the problem there? Because most people's problem, especially when they're selling courses online, and yours is more than a course, dude. Yours is a group. Yours is a mastermind. Yours is a community. Yours is a mentorship transformational program. It's not just a course. But when you're selling a course online, you know, there's a lot that goes into it that people don't understand. You need a team and you need technology. And by the way, that team consists of the same skill sets I'm talking about, communication. So the skill sets, I think, specifically salespeople, but I'm talking about everybody watching, everyone that'll see the future, everyone that'll download this podcast in the future. You got to get your mindset, your skill set, and your habits. But the skills that you need, and when I say sales, closing, and persuasion, to me, it's all one skill.
Right.
So you need sales, closing, and persuasion. Because last time I did this, they counted that as 3. He said 8 and he said 5. Like, don't confuse yourself, dummy. Sales, closing, and persuasion is a skill. Okay. Neuro-linguistic programming, freaking, you know, tonality, all the advanced level shit's in that skill. You're just really advanced at that skill. Then you've got communication. That's a whole nother art. The art of conflict resolution, to build, you know, it's just a separate thing. Yes, it's valuable and involved in sales, closing, and persuasion. You got to communicate. Yeah, but communications. Then there's marketing. Because again, dude, a salesman that also understands marketing, what do you think, by the way, is more valuable to learn, marketing or sales?
I think more valuable to learn as an individual sales because of the feedback loop.
Now, when I was 31, I used to think the same thing, but let me accelerate your learning curve, my friend. Marketing, and I'll prove it. If you're really good, let's say you're the best salesperson on earth, and you talk to 5 people a day, and I'm pretty good, not anywhere as good as you, but I'm pretty good, dude. And I'm talking to 500 people a day. Who's making most money? Me or you?
But you said what's the most valuable?
No, I know, but me or you?
You, the marketer.
Okay, so I'm the marketer to get in front of 500 people. Because to me, marketing is driving opportunities to do business, and sales is who receives that opportunity to do business.
I'm right with you.
And by the way, usually the salesperson is making all the dough. Nowadays, dude, that's shifted. And I used to say sales too, because if you can't close it, what's it worth? Well, dude, you're going too far that way, dude. You can be a decent average Joe and close deals. You don't need to be some superhero to close deals and make money. But if you're killer and you don't know how to get in front of anybody, dude, you're not going to make that much. I don't care how good you are. But if you're really good at getting in front of people, but you're not that good in sales, you still will make money.
The leap of assumption you made, though.
But what's best?
You made a leap of assumption that we're both on the same page with
but
the
what's
definition
best?
of value.
But what's best? That's the point. Both.
Sure. 100%.
If I can get this guy's skills in sales, closing, and persuasion up to a certain level, I can get his art of communication to a certain level. I can get his understanding of marketing to a certain level. Then I get personal branding to a certain level, which is again technically in the marketing bucket, but it's alone and separate because that's how important it is. And then I can round it all off with building relationships, which is a skill. If I got those 5 skill sets, folks, if you guys have those 5 skill sets, the right mindset, the right skill set, and the right habits. So that's the skill set that you need. And by the way, that's across the board. Well, what if I want to be a doctor? I guarantee you those 5 skill sets will help you crush that industry.
Yeah.
Those are the core essentials. You might need to learn plumbing, because your goal is to be the best plumber in the world. But my point is, those are the skill sets everyone should learn. You seem to possess them all. How did you learn them?
Having a mentor.
Who was your mentor?
Well, he's called the Underground Mentor. So he is genuinely underground, no social media presence. Nobody knows his name.
See, now, hey, if anybody's still watching, which there are, any comments about that? Because on my behalf, I say that's pretty cool, actually. Not that, convenient, nobody can verify, but because nowadays verification is mighty important. So there's no way to verify that guy's success. Like yours.
You talked a lot about energy, though. You can feel. Yes, there are people which arguably is even more advanced to be able to be so unskilled, but project an aura of super skilled. That's pretty hard to do. I think most people can sense, like, you know what? This guy's got his shit together.
Well, once they hear him and talk to him, but who is he? Can't tell you. That's kind of cool to me. It's like almost like the unknown comic. Like, who is he?
But also,
you say when he pops into calls, you don't see him.
No. It just says on the Zoom call, the Underground Mentor.
And you, obviously people can see because you're, let's call it a front man.
Yep.
You're out on social media talking about it.
Yep.
But so how'd you find him?
So I started working, my first sales job, he was one of the co-founders.
So you knew him in person?
No. This is the
Was he underground then?
Well, he mentored me all the way up to going from $1,500 a month to $100,000 a month. And I had never met him in person. I had never seen his face. All he did was send me voice notes, and he transformed my life that much.
Dang. Did he tell you what you now teach?
Yeah, he told me everything I know.
But what he did is he set you straight. How old were you?
26 when I got into sales.
That's why you're so young and successful, because you're only 31.
Yep.
Dude, at 31, I was just starting Lightspeed, which, by the way, 8 years it took to kind of get it rolling. I was a little ahead of my time, and I was a killer salesperson, but I didn't have the inner work, as you put it.
Right.
I didn't have the inner work at all.
One of the biggest reasons I'm so hot on the inner work is that although I kept getting better at sales over the years, I kind of felt like I'd mastered most of sales because I had a mentor within the first 4 or 5 months. Now, I don't think most people master it that quick, but I was going balls deep with my mentor as far as studying. What made me so clear that the inner work was the problem is that my results were inconsistent. Well, I knew what I was doing skill set wise. I didn't just forget what I'm supposed to do on a sales call as far as the skills, but my beliefs or my environment or my emotional control or whatever it was affecting my sales calls. And every single one of those things, the Underground Mentor had to teach me how to get around those things. And it was like crossing them off. Like, okay, emotional regulation, got that one down. Income, 20K a month, 30K a month. All right, what's the next internal problem? My environment sucks. It's not inspiring. I'm hanging around a bunch of losers. Got that one sorted. 30K to 40K a month. And every leap of my income was on the back end of doing the inner work. It wasn't on the front end of getting 10 times better at sales.
Or more leads.
No, it wasn't that.
Now, again, I can also show you that it could have been, like if you'd have hit the wrong mentor, there's people. I could show you how to do that without the inner work. And it's just called, press the gas, talk to more people, but eventually you're going to burn out of that because you didn't do the inner work. So what's the answer? The answer's both.
That's why we teach both. You cannot, we say that if you want to be the top 0.001% in sales, you have to have both.
So what do you think about all these sales trainers out there claiming they're the best? Like you got Grant Cardone. Of course, Cardone, everybody knows he's kind of real estate now, but
Right.
he's still got sales training out in the world, and he's still got his books. And, you know, Grant Cardone, you got Andy Elliott, you got frickin' Jeremy Miner. Jeremy Miner's more like you in his sales training. Jeremy, you know, teaches kind of a consultative approach in a way. Definitely not high pressure. In fact, he kind of has a technique where he teaches you to be somewhat unengaged and confused, which makes me always go, what? Because I was always taught and used certainty and enthusiasm. But when I've watched a little bit of his content, you know, he's like, he makes you feel dumb to go in that way. And a lot of people say his shit works. What do you know about all these other trainers? Have you studied them?
Yeah, I've been through all of their courses at the highest level. Apart from Andy Elliott. I've done Grant Cardone's Cardone University. I've done Jeremy Miner's Inner Circle. I've done them all.
But there's got to be some good shit in all of it, no?
I think Andy Elliott is the one that I resonate the most with, because I think he understands the importance of having your energy up, having your life in order, having things
And he's
together.
the only one you didn't do. That's interesting. That's the one you think you would do the best, and he's the only one you didn't do.
I hadn't heard of Andy Elliott when I was on the phones. I hadn't seen him out there. You know, I've only seen Andy Elliott now that I'm running a business and seeing his content and seeing Instagram.
Yeah. Well, most people are seeing him because he was sitting in the same chair you were like 2 years ago.
That's true. That's true.
So this might happen for you now. Then you'll see him every day because you'll be competing. Yeah, actually, I mean, he does have like groups like yours, but you know, he also has, you know, entry level. He's just trying to get everybody to understand that, and he does touch a little bit on the mindset. I think your program sounds like you guys do a lot more.
Oh, we definitely do. But you're asking, you know, pros, cons, other sales.
Yeah, who
trainers.
sucks, who doesn't? I'm trying to get some dirt.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say who sucks or who doesn't, because, you know, me saying their names and, you know, qualifying, unqualifying, that would just be putting them in the limelight, which is, you know, I don't need to do that. But I think the answer is that what's in the middle is where mastery is. So we mentioned Jeremy Miner, and then we've got, you know, what we teach on the complete other side. You know, Jeremy Miner's is scripted, and the idea, the principle behind the script is, if we say these things in this order, in this tonality, it will reduce sales resistance. Well, one of the things from my experience that increases sales resistance is the heebie-jeebies that the prospect has when they think you're fake. Well, reading a script.
Heebie-jeebies do and screw it up.
100%. If your prospect's like, I don't really think this person's genuine, the sales resistance is going to go through the roof, no matter what you say.
Yeah, because the trust gets deteriorated.
Yeah.
So if you took a Jeremy Miner student, would you say throw everything he said out the window?
Jeremy Miner's students come to me when they're stuck.
Well, again, I don't know because I haven't taken yours, and I haven't taken his either. But I have a lot of people tell me, oh, Jeremy Miner shit's good.
Well, as you said before, it depends what you class as good. If you're happy at $20K a month, then, you know, go read your script.
So, but you would say that you took it, and did you like go, no good?
So, great story. I had gone from, you know, 10K to 20K to 30K to 40K to 50K a month with the methodology that my mentor taught me, which is scriptless selling.
Yeah, I like scriptless, by the way.
I then took the inner circle of Jeremy Miner's scripted program. And if I'm doing a program, I go for it. Like, I went to all the calls, I did all the studying, I did everything. My income went from 50K back down to 20.
Because you tried to implement it all?
Because I was just following a process that I am absolutely certain is less powerful. I mean, I've got a video on YouTube that explains this for anybody. It's like, there's a quote, and this is Charles Darwin on evolution. I mean, as far as core fundamental principles of life, evolution is pretty up there as far as core principles. And the quote is, it's not the strongest who survive. It's not the smartest who survive. It's the most adaptable.
Yeah.
How fucking adaptable are you if you're reading a script? and your next question is pre-planned, and the next one is pre-planned, and the next one is pre-planned. So I've got a video on YouTube that shows you at every point in the call, if you have one direction to go versus infinite array of options, change your tonality because the prospect moved a bit and you're like, hang on, are you okay? Did something happen? Did I touch a nerve or something? Or you have to change your question, or you have to slow down, or you have to speed up. Whereas if everything is pre-planned, you have no flexibility. And so if the fundamental law of success, survival of the fittest, apex predators, is not the strongest or the fittest, it's the ones that are most adaptable, then if you want to be the apex, the core principle you need to follow is, how do you learn a methodology that gives you the most adaptability? It's logic.
I like that. And I will probably use that one day, because that is true. That is who survives. It's not the strongest. It's not the smartest. It's the most adaptable. And that makes sense when you look at it that way, because again, like the moss that turn a different color so they don't get picked off the tree. One of these days I'm going to have all the sales experts on a show, because I'd love to have Jeremy here. This would make a killer episode if Jeremy was here, Cardone was here, Elliot was here, I'm here, but me and you agree, so it's not that explosive of a show. I would want to hear and debate, because dude, what I say is everyone should take anyone and everyone's, because that's ongoing development. I might say something or say it in a way that resonates, where if you said it, they're still stuck on your accent. Why? Because somebody that sounded like you snatched their girlfriend. I'm serious. Like something's mentally blocking them, but that's a mental block. That is the mindset issue. I mean, there's people that I'll say something and they'll laugh, where if someone else says exactly what I said, they'll get punched.
Well, that's one of the fundamentals of NLP, which is not what I teach, but I've studied it to understand it enough. Is it's not the message you communicate, it's what's received that matters. Like you say something that you think's funny, and the message received by the receiver is that's not funny. Well, what is communication? Is it what you say, or is it what's received? Well, it's technically what's received. Which
should control what you say or drive. Because I can see your face, and I can see when you do this, and nonverbal, I call it micro expressions, are powerful.
100%.
Like I can talk to somebody and know that they're not closed. So why am I going to now start to ask them for the sale when I can visually see they're not ready? And how can I see it? Because of their eye squint, their eye roll, their twitch, their nervousness, the fact that they just looked at their watch 3 times in a row. When people look at their watch, folks, and you're in a sales environment, you know what they're telling you? I'm not listening anymore.
I'm checked out.
I'm bored. So again, you start asking for the sale because you think you're running out of time. You start closing and you wonder why they don't close. Well, because you should have said, wait a minute, this dude's uninterested at best, right? Worse, I already lost him. So now I have to, in my opinion, kind of back up a little bit, slow it down a little bit.
But that's only if you have the flexibility.
That's the adaptability.
Because you're saying, well, if I'm on the penultimate question before the closing question, but my prospect isn't ready to close, I ain't going to try and close. Well, if that's the next question on your script and that's all you know how to do, then you're fucked. It's a no sale. It's a lost sale.
Are you hireable for companies? What if I have a big entrepreneur listening that says, man, I just want to hire you. Come sell my shit. Why are you selling your own?
Not to sell for them. No.
They can't hire you?
Nope.
That's going to hire you. No. What about the older you get? In other words, can a 20-year-old apply your methodology and still be taken seriously? Because a lot of people think their age is going to stop them.
Well, this goes back to the inner world. You've probably heard the saying, it's not the years in your age, it's the age in your years. It's like, at 20 years old, I'd left home, I'd gone to university, I'd tried 16 different jobs, I'd gone and lived in the mountains in Spain, I'd tried to apply for the military, I'd done a lot of different things, and that still wasn't enough that I had to do a bunch of inner work. You then have guys that are 35 years old that are still living in their mum's basement trying to close people. It's like, one of the first things that I teach people is have a look at your life and ask yourself, how much new experiences are you bringing into your life on a regular basis? If the answer is nothing, you probably aren't challenging yourself enough. So I don't think it's the number as far as their age, but I do think people need life experience.
Do you think it's up to them to decide?
Who?
Whoever you're talking to and mentoring?
Well, it goes back to the story about a course versus mentorship. If someone joins mentorship and a mastermind, the idea is I'm going to trust the mentor. A course doesn't really have that presupposition. It's like, oh, I give you my credit card, I do the course. Mentorship, a mastermind is to some degree, you're agreeing that you're stepping into the role of mentee, student. Meaning if I say, hey, listen, man, don't turn up to the weekly live training next week, book a one-way ticket somewhere and go on a bit of an adventure for a week. Don't plan your trip, whatever. If I said that to one of my students, I would expect them financially being able to do it, to follow through on that, because I know what would be best for a lot of the students.
What's the concept of scriptless selling?
Well, literally to ditch the script and to understand that you have to tune into the prospect. You have to come to the sales call without an agenda. Exactly as you said, you have to be reading the room. You have to be reading the person. Okay, they seemed a bit confused when I said that. Let me ask some clarifying questions about that, as opposed to with a script. You're just assuming that every prospect is the same. So it's literally the opposite, is assuming that I have to have the flexibility to do whatever it takes on the sales call to find this is not a fit or this is a fit and I'm going to close you right now. It also ties into why I never had to do follow-up.
Have you ever thought about training businesses or just people?
How do you mean businesses? In a business with salespeople in the business?
Yeah. Like, in other words, because I get a lot of entrepreneurs that own businesses. There's probably some owners. They're not necessarily still in the sales department listening to this. And, I want them to wrap their heads around like, hey, because I'm thinking what I might be thinking. If I'm listening to you, I'd be like, dude, how do I get this guy to train my sales team? Do I got to put them all in your mentorship?
Yeah, we have businesses that put their sales team into the mastermind.
What happens to their numbers?
They explode. As an example, we've had people that have, gone from 500K a month to 1.2 million a month in 8 weeks, cash collected.
And all you did is went in and basically with a couple of mirrors showed their sales team individually that they got some inner work to do, and then
inner work plus teaching them to ditch the script.
But you have to give them something if they don't have a script. Like, what you got to teach them? Word tracks or something. So you're trying to teach them intelligence, because intelligence is how you do what you're talking about.
This is the difference between a mass market sales product and a non-mass market. The core principle of mass market is we have to dumb this down to reach more people. Well, it kind of goes back to your question before. Why don't we just teach anybody and everybody? Well, because I'm not going to dumb my shit down and spoon feed you what question to ask, because it won't make you the best salesperson. That does mean there's a section that's like, these are the people that I do think have the, call it IQ or whatever, to be able to read the room. And I know this for a fact with the students that join the mastermind, because when I'm doing a live call review, we'll see the salesperson ask a question and I'll say, why did you say that? And they're like, I don't really know. I don't really know where I asked that. And I'll say to the closer, what were you really thinking in this moment? And they'll tell me something. Oh, I think the prospect's being an idiot. Okay, why do you think that? Well, because they said this and this and this, and that just doesn't make sense. And I'll say, so you already know what you are supposed to be thinking. You're just not saying that to the prospect, which goes back to the inner work. They're being a pussy. They don't want to say the truth to the prospect because it's not on the script. I can't do that. So whilst there could be a case to make that there are a subset of the population that just don't have any intuition, I don't think that's a belief that I want to uphold. I believe that most people have the ability to read the room. They're just blocked from those things. It's like the sun is always shining, but the clouds can be over the sun.
Yeah.
I think most people just don't speak their mind enough, especially in sales.
Yeah. In fear of losing a sale that they don't even have yet.
Exactly.
Would you ever find that to be
the
interesting?
Principle that we teach, which is not my principle, is on a sales call, You got to play to win, not play to not lose. It's why so many people have to then, play the game of follow-up. So why the fuck are you following up? Following up with what? You didn't do your job on the 45 minutes that they actually told you, hey, this makes sense, or I don't want to buy this.
So you don't believe in follow-up?
Not in high-ticket online sales in the traditional sense of I'm going to keep texting and emailing the prospect.
Well, again, there's a fine line between follow-up and pestering.
Well, I think there's also a fine line between follow-up and a two-call close. I'm not saying you can't close the deal on a second call, but I've done enough on the first call to put the ownership and the responsibility on the prospect that if you don't have the money right now, or if you need to ask your wife, or if you need to fucking pray on it, you're going to go and do what you need to do, and you're going to text me tomorrow saying, I've done what I needed, I'm ready to buy, here's my credit card.
What if they ghost you?
That's the point. They only ghost you because either they don't trust you.
Yeah, but sometimes customers and buyers and prospects lie.
But you're the one that induced that lying out of the prospect by being someone that they felt they could be lying to. This is frame control. There's another topic. If you show up as a prospect as a closer that isn't willing to challenge the prospect, you've set the frame. You've set the precedence. The precedence is they can ghost you.
See, that's a good point too, because I always wonder, how do I do it? Because I'm freaking good. Well, when you just said that, that is kind of, I am not afraid to challenge a prospect. Maybe that's what I'm doing intuitively. Do you think salespeople can be born great, or do they have to be trained great?
There may be some people that are just born salesmen, but if you're not a born salesman, are you going to use that to rationalize as your excuse? Oh, I wasn't born that way. There's a really, really powerful chapter in the book, Law of Success by Napoleon Hill. You read that book?
Sure.
And it is the chapter on accurate thinking. And he teaches that accurate thinking is to understand that what is or what isn't is not that important. What matters is that your thinking is useful, meaning it doesn't matter if the sky is blue or the sky is red. If I need to believe the sky is red because of some benefit to me, I should believe the sky is red. And this is what a lot of people misunderstand with logical Newtonian thinking versus quantum thinking. Is the universe is a reflection of how we think. So instead of looking for facts and fiction, choose your beliefs, install the things that are going to create the manifestation that is going to be useful to you. And so when we're talking about follow-up or good leads or scripts or whatever, it's just use your damn brain. Do you think a script is going to give you more flexibility? No. Do you think having to follow up with people is going to give you a higher or a lower chance of closing the deal? Probably not. Do you think thinking that all of your leads are broke and bad leads is going to be beneficial to you? Whether you do get some broke leads or not is irrelevant. I used to go into every next day as a salesperson thinking my leads are the best fucking leads ever. They're all qualified. They're all financially qualified. They've all got a problem. They're all excited to talk to me and to fix this problem. You got to understand deeper ways of thinking. Accurate thinking is to think what is useful, not to think what is right or wrong.
That's deep shit right there, folks. Went over most heads, I can guarantee.
Probably.
Didn't go over mine. See, I agree with it. I can tell that you definitely have had some success in your life, and you are well experienced in it. You've probably, I think I could still teach you a thing or two, especially about building that training program of yours. But you're in, what state do you live in right now?
I'm not in the States.
So you're just traveling. When someone says, where do you live? What do you say?
Private. None of your fucking business.
Doesn't matter. When you,
it depends who's asking, right?
Everybody's got to have a home.
No, I literally don't have a home. I've got rental apartments, but I don't have a fixed place. My business is registered where I'm born from, which is the UK. And that's all But
if I see you on screen, are you in the United States?
No. Previously, I was in Mallorca in Spain, and then I flew to South America. So I was in Brazil, I was in Colombia, and then...
You're a digital nomad.
You could say that, yeah.
There's no brick and mortar. Do you ever do events?
Yeah, we do, but we just choose the location. So our last event was LA.
LA?
Yep.
How'd it go?
Incredible. incredible for all the members. They got to finally see who is the underground mentor, which is a pretty big reveal. You have to have been in the mastermind for a certain period of time to get access to that. Meeting everybody face to face. You know, we've talked a lot about energy. You can't transmit some of that through video. You can transmit a lot of it. People can watch you on a video and think, I like this guy's vibe or I don't like it. But there's another level that is just face to face.
Yeah, human connection. Well, the reason I ask is because people are listening. They're thinking they either like you or they are commenting shit. We'll see when the thing drops. But if they like you, they go to unicorncloser.com. They can follow you at Josh Lyons, LYONS.sales. And if they want to, you know, quadruple their money, then jump in, reach out to you. What about just questions? Like, what if someone needs a little more information from the famous Josh Lyons?
Well, I've got a lot of free content on Instagram. So if it's sales information that they want to be, you know, they want free information.
No, like they heard, they like what you're saying, but they need to be closed.
Well, there's a pretty extensive video on the website. If that's not enough, then you're not a fit.
In other words, if you hear that and you still don't think you want...
I feel like, I think I might want to learn from this guy, but I think I might want to learn scripts. Go learn scripts, man. Figure it out the hard way.
Well, again, to me, if you ask me, my answer is, you know, scripts are better than nothing unless you know what nothing really means, and then you don't need scripts. So I'm a scriptless guy. And I always tell people when I start teaching, because they're looking for word tracks and steps, and I'm like, dude, I'll teach you those because theoretically, I call them the bones. There's bones, like the first step in a sales process. Most people say meet and greet. You know, you got to meet the customer, you know, and then they teach you. That's the first step. And I always say, dude, that's the second step if there is a first step. The first step is meet yourself. Okay, you want to sell this person, sell yourself first. You want to meet this person, meet yourself first. Do you know who you are? Is your mindset right? Is your attitude gone? Is your perspective adjusted? Because again, it's all a decision. Like right. I can be pissed off, have a bad morning just like everybody else. And when I walk up and the light turns on, what's happening? Now that's a skill. Yep. Control emotions. You said manage them. Same thing. I say control though, because
control is better because it's able to choose the emotion
and turn it up or turn it down. Like sometimes I'll go in enthusiastic as a son of a bitch, and I can see that it's not being received as well as I would hope. So next thing you know, I slowly tone that down, and that's just me scaling back the enthusiasm. And then sometimes I feel like I'm being too slick, too well spoken. So I'll start to ask like I'm a little bit confused. So again, when Jeremy teaches that technique and, you know, Grant talks about, you know, blah, 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 you know, get in there anyway. You know, I take them all and I don't say, well, this is better or that's better. I take it all, I internalize it, and then I be me. So my mastermind, which I don't have, but if I partnered with you and made one and we called it Real Unicorn Mastermind, which would just be the addition of me into the unknown closer. But I would bring like adaptability, you know, bones to it. Because again, I agree with 99% of what you say. The only thing I don't agree with, and you're not really saying it, but you're kind of inferring it, is that there's only one, like one way. But I know you don't mean that, because if me and you talked it out, you would agree with what I'm saying. What I'm saying is adaptability, which you can't disagree with because you already agree with it. But to me, dude, when I'm listening to you, if I'm these guys, I'm already doing sales, and I can tell you know a lot, and I want to learn what that is, so I'm going to reach out. But if I'm newer, I might think like, well, I don't quite get that, and so I just want to talk. I just want some more information. Where would I go?
All of the information that you should need is on the website. There's a pretty extensive video on there, and I've got all my content. If that still isn't clicking for you, then that's totally fine.
Then call me. Not a fit. Call me. I'll send you somewhere else.
Yeah. If someone needed to DM me on Instagram, they could send a message. But people shouldn't be of the impression that I'm going to be in the DMs selling them on why scriptless selling, why internal work, why you
in
need
other
to
words,
set
he
a
ain't
higher
coaching
standards.
you through DMs.
Yeah.
But dude, for people that reach out in DMs, let's close with this because I know you only plan to be here an hour. But if I'm reaching out in DMs, okay, how do you think I should open the conversation so it doesn't happen like my guy did to you? And by the way, we had to let that guy go. We had to let that guy go. And, you know, I like the guy. Good dude. Was producing. I shouldn't have moved him. I shouldn't even have got him in there. You know, it cost me a good dude. It cost him a job, you know, and it can cost you guys a job pretty easily. So again, pay attention to what he's about to say. But when you reach out into a DM and you're trying to sell something, what would your recommendation be?
So in this specific example, I think it was good that he said Brad Lea because, you know, credibility. So I'd say, hey, I'm messaging from Brad Lea about the Dropping Bombs podcast. Just curious, are you looking at doing any more podcasts at the moment?
Yeah.
Just start with that. Are you looking at doing any more podcasts? Yes, no, dig into that, chunk down, and just go from there. But the first thing is, because if I said, no, I have no interest in doing any podcasts, I can still go from there. Oh, interesting. I noticed you did some before. What changed?
Yeah.
But you need to get the customer, the prospect, to be interested in the conversation first, rather than just trying to force that, hey, you're going to get $10 million from this. I'm like, well, now I'm not interested.
What happens when this drops and you do make a couple million? Would you call him back and say, dude?
I think we should give him a call and say that we fucked up.
Say you were correct in the result, but guess what? You still weren't correct in the application, which it would be the truth. Yeah. And dude, you'd never hear me claim you're going to make millions from coming on the podcast. I wouldn't even say you could, even though everybody knows if you have an abundant mindset and it's a real podcast, which it is, that you could, but only an idiot would make that kind of a statement. Or I wouldn't say idiot. I'll say green pea. Do you call them green peas?
I've never heard that term.
Green pea is what we used to call new salespeople.
Okay.
Because I was in a car dealership where if you could, breathe on a mirror and fog it up, they'll hire you. But only because they had me. I used to train people. That's how I built this whole thing. I used to train people. And then one time, and it was always about, me. I was walking around in a suit thinking I was cool, but I had the ability to snatch someone out of a Burger King drive-through, which I did many times, and take people off the street and just show them how to sell clothes and persuade at a dealership. Again, selling cars is a little bit different than selling, B2B, and it's a little bit different than selling software, high ticket stuff. So obviously they all don't apply, word tracks, etc., mindsets. But at the end of the day, there's fundamental sales to everything. So I was good at doing that. And so I would snatch, I used to call them freaking nobodies and turn them into green peas. Green peas were new and willing to learn, but didn't know shit. And so they'd go screw shit up, especially like if you teach them to turn. What about turning deals? I call it turn deal, meaning if I can't sell you, what do you think in me turning it to one of my teammates, give them a shot?
If you're on a sales team, that's usually what happens in the CRM, in the pipeline. So if one closer doesn't close the deal, they usually have a set period of time to follow up and close, and then it's what's called a free lead. But
would you recommend that they turn their deal?
No, the methodology that I teach in the mastermind is that one of the reasons I don't think follow-up works so well is that there is no intermediate thinking about why the deal didn't close before the follow-up. So what usually happens is closer doesn't close a deal, next day just starts texting and messaging. Well, why do you think you're going to get a different result today than you got yesterday?
Yeah.
What should happen is the closer should go through the transcript, if it's a recorded call, and see where they fucked up. And this does two things. This is manifestation as well. It's called the
proving. See, that's professional shit there. I'm going to go review what I did. Like that's where
pro athletes do.
But that's where the pros separate themselves, because
Massive
most
action.
people would say, dude, I'm not going to go back and review what I said.
Well, if you're not going to do that, sure, give the lead to someone else, because that lead is a fucking human being with children, with a wife, with a dream, with a hope, with a goal. And if you're not willing to do the work and you're just going to let that prospect down, give it to me. I'll close them.
Yeah.
Because I'm not viewing it as I'll close them. I'm viewing it as that person needs my help. I better be a fucking pro athlete. I better be a professional, because otherwise, if it ain't me that closes a deal, I know that someone else isn't going to close it.
Or they won't get help.
Yeah, won't close the deal and won't get help. So what you should be doing, which I teach this process in the mastermind, is you take the transcript and you have to figure out one of two things, which happen multiple times. Where did you say something that you shouldn't have said? In other words, it took the convo in the wrong way, lowered the trust, whatever. And what are the things that you didn't say that you should have said that would have helped close the deal? What's really interesting, and this is going back to quantum physics, is when you actually review the transcript and you as the closer now go, you know what? If I could have had a second go at that, I would have closed the deal. Your state changes, your conviction, your certainty. When you then call up the prospect again and say, hey, John, it's Brad, they feel something different about you. And they open up because you're transmitting that different frequency to them. When you call them straight back up the next day, having not done anything in between, they're like, oh, that shit salesperson that is just trying to close me. And then they shut down. So yeah, it's mastery. It's doing what a pro athlete would do, saying, I fucked up. I want to know why I screwed up. I want to sit with the coach. I want to go through the game tape, and I want to know what to do next time. That is, in manifestation, it's called the pruning shears of revision. Like at the end of every day, have you heard this before?
Not specifically.
So at the end of every day, you should be thinking back through your day and replaying the day in your head if it had gone perfectly. So instead of going to bed at the end of the day thinking, oh, this went well, that went bad, this went well, that went bad, you reimagine, you mentally rehearse the past day as if it was the perfect day. And this actually rewires your memories. So instead of going to bed thinking, oh, yesterday was a 5 out of 10 day,
worse, shit.
Or shit.
Which most people are thinking like that. Like, today I'm just going to forget about it. It was a terrible day. And you're reinforcing that.
You're suppressing.
And what happens to your energy when you're in that negative energy?
Well, whenever you're suppressing, denying, you push all of that emotion down. And that's what Sigmund Freud was studying, that if you've got all of this stuff repressed, it's going to come out as expletives or explosives or triggers or whatever. Whereas if you go to bed every night and you think through, what would I have done if I'd have had the perfect day? That moment that I got frustrated with the prospect, how should I have reacted? And you replay it. This is that process of editing the work that you've done again and again and again until you are writing masterpieces.
I wish I could have debated a little more, only for the entertainment value. But me and you were aligned in that. Like I said, if you ever want to like partner up, let me know. I wouldn't be embarrassed to let you sell anything that I've got, and I'd want all my people trained by you, because I think the energy that you're giving off to me is that like you're professional, ethical, trustworthy, and kind. And to me, dude, that's what every salesperson needs to figure out. Like go, and it's inner work, but go audit your calls and see, are you honestly, earnestly trying to help somebody? And are you prepared? Because again, lack of preparation. I can't imagine being unprepared, walking into a sales call, not finding yourself in one, but walking into one. You get there in the morning and you're not prepared. What a dumbass. Step one, get prepared. Step two, realize that you have a lot more to learn. Even me, dude. Again, I mean, shit, you might see me in your course one day. And I would highly recommend anybody that's taking sales seriously to go to unicorncloser.com, as well as follow him. I mean, you can do that shit free at joshlyons.sales. No, at joshlyons.sales. And I'm sure you got a YouTube channel.
It's the same, joshlyons.sales.
Yeah, go look this dude up. Appreciate you coming in, dude. Next time you come through Vegas, stop back. We'll do it again.
100%. My pleasure, Brad.
And folks, as always, until next time, keep it real.